Hi, I'm Creston. Welcome to the SQL Join video. In this video, we're going to go over a few slides, and then we're going to get into some live coding. If you want to follow along with the live coding, be sure to check out the link that's in the description below the video. All right, let's get started with SQL Joins. So a SQL Join allows you to retrieve data across multiple tables with a single select statement. Columns are used as identifiers to join each table to be able to combine that data correctly. So an example of a select statement that uses a join is select all the columns from the posts table, join that, do an inner join to the comments table using the post ID and the ID on the post table and the post ID on the comments table. And you can also include a where clause if you would like, as well as grouping or ordering, etc. So let's take a look at some table examples to see what this would look like. So imagine you have a post table that has unique IDs for each post, and then a comments table, and that comments table has a reference to the post it's attached to. So you could use a join to join these two comments where the post is 100 to join to this row to be able to pull out this post's comments. So let's take a look at a kind of a graphical example of two different types of joins, an inner join and a left outer join. And these joins you will probably use 99% of the time. So when you're doing an inner join, it's basically an intersection where rows exist in both the post table and the comments table. So you're joining them and seeing where they are both in common. That's an inner join. A left outer join is where you say, I want all of the rows from the post table that match what I'm looking for. If you have a where statement, it'll, of course, reduce the rows returned. But I also want to have rows or be able to link in information from the comments table. So there you would use a left outer join. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some live examples to see how this would work. All right, I'm going to go ahead and use Ubuntu and the Postgres SQL database for the examples I'm going to demonstrate. You can feel free to follow along with your own relational database. But when using Ubuntu and Postgres, the first thing I'm going to do is assume the role of the Postgres user using this command. And then I'm going to connect up to the Postgres SQL client called PSQL, and I'm going to connect up to a test database that we created previously. I'm also going to do two quick steps where I'm going to drop the post table that was created in a previous lesson, and then also make sure the comments table is not present as well before we continue. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create the post table, and this is similar to the one that appeared in the slide where there's a unique ID for each row, a title, the content, when it was published at timestamp, as well as what type of post it is. I'm going to go ahead and insert some data we'll use for the joins. And then I'm going to create a comments table, again similar to the one that was shown in the slides, where each comment has its own unique ID, a post ID to reference what post it connects to. User ID we probably won't be using, the submitted at timestamp, as well as the actual comment. And now I'm going to use a slightly different syntax for this insert statement because Postgres allows inserting multiple rows using this different syntax. If your database doesn't support it, you can feel free to use the syntax we use for the posts table for doing the inserts. Okay, so those rows have been inserted, and let's take a look at what, to just get a baseline of what the post table looks like, as well as the comments table. All right, so that's the post table and the data that was inserted, as well as the comments table. So the first thing we're going to want to do is look at what an inner join looks like. So we're selecting all the columns from the post table, do an inner join. This is an intersection to the comments table where the ID on the post table matches or is equal to the post ID on the comments table. So this is how we're going to join them together. Now when this runs, it does join these tables, but it opens up this interface in Postgres when it's too long for the display you're running it on. I'm going to want to make this easier to see and read. So I'm going to just make two quick changes. One, I'm only going to return certain columns from each table, as well as I'm going to be using some aliases to make it easier to understand what's going on. So, or make it less verbose actually. So I'm going to create the alias p for the post table and use that. So this means post.id, it's the same thing, and this is an alias for the comments table. And I'm showing the post title and then the comment that was made for each one. So if I go ahead and run that, I can now see, okay, here is the title and then each of the comments. So we can see that the only comments that exist are for these two blog posts, and each of the blog posts has 3 comments. So that's an example of an intersect join, because if we go up here, we can see, in terms of the comments, it's only using post 100, which is Intro to SQL, and Intro to Postgres SQL. So only the published posts have comments on them, which of course makes sense. And there are 3 comments per post, which is exactly what it's showing here. So that's an example of an inner join where you want to get it where it's an intersection of the rows that are linked up in both tables. But maybe you want to get a count of the posts no matter if they have comments on them or not. So with that, you could use a left outer join. So here I'm returning the same types of columns, but I'm doing a left outer join to the comments table, and I'm still using the same columns to link the data together. So now it is going to show me each of the posts and then also the comments that are linked to them. However, because it's a left outer join, it's going to show all the posts irrespective of whether they have comments or not. Now let's do something a little bit more interesting that blogs tend to do, is they like to get a count of how many comments for each blog post. So this is a statement that can do that for you. So basically, actually let's look at it here. So we're going to pull out the post title, and we're going to do an aggregate function to count how many comments there are. From the post table, do an inner join actually on the comments, and we're going to group by the title so that we can get a count. So because we did an inner join, it's going to show only those posts that have comments, and it's going to give us a count 3 for each of those posts because we're doing a group by, and then it's going to group them by it and then give us a count. Let's use a left outer join to say just show us all the posts and just give us a count irrespective of whether a row exists. And here we can see there are 3 comments for these 2 posts, and since these are unpublished, but we know they're unpublished, there are 0 counts for each of them. And then finally, let's put it all together and actually add even a where clause to it. So you can see how it all works together, including an order by clause. So it's the exact same query as above, except we're adding a where clause to say only show me where the post type is SQL, as well as we want to order by the title, which we weren't doing up here for this example. And we can see we're ordering correctly. It's only showing SQL related, having a type of SQL posts, and then giving us a count of the comments. I hope that was helpful. If you want to learn more, you can check out my free course called SQL Bootcamp. There's a link in the description below this video.